And Dan Morales is a fellow that I met via telephone, and we had a beautiful conversation for half an hour or so, and I learned a little bit about Dan, particularly the fact that he was born in the Watchtower and was a Jehovah's Witness for 24 years. And so come on up, Dan, and when he gets his little mask going here, and you'll understand what this is all about as time goes on here. But Dan Morales, again, his title is called Born In, the witnesses obviously, Born In, Awake at Last. Let's go.
God bless you.
Lord bless him in the name of Jesus. Amen.
God bless. God bless. That's something we couldn't say while we were in. You know, I came here, they told me about all the thing called love bombing that I'd get when I got here, and a handshake and a smile, that's all I get. I don't know if that's the love bombing that I heard I was going to get. I'll have to take it, but man, thought you were going to wash my feet with oil or something. Yeah. So, some say I might look ridiculous wearing this in my activism videos. And I say it's no more ridiculous than me being taught that Jesus came down to earth invisibly in 1914. 5 years later, in 1919, picking the Jehovah's Witnesses as God's only representation and who would be speaking for him on earth. This is no more ridiculous, in my humble opinion. I don't know what Jesus was doing for 5 years while he was trying to figure out which church was preaching the right stuff, playing golf, snowboarding, who knows? All right, so there's two parts to my testimony today. One is how I found the real Christ Jesus and came to the real Lord and the real gospel. And the other is, the first part will be being born into a destructive cult called the Jehovah's Witnesses. So, one of the things I'd like to say is there's a vast amount of money involved in these destructive cults. There was a cult called the Moonies. And if you were in a cult like me, we'd look down at the Moonies. We'd consider the Moonies those weird people. Well, it turns out the Moonies have $1 billion more than any of us. They have $4 billion that they amassed. Since that founder died, all the families fighting over it. The Jehovah's Witness has $3 billion they hoarded of our money. Scientology's $3 billion, and so on and so forth. So my story starts with my grandfather dying of Hodgkin's at 38 years old, my mother's father. And that really shook the family to the core. And he was a business owner in New York City, and we all lived in New York City. And my mother gets a knock at the door, and it's the witnesses telling the good news of the kingdom, paradise on earth. You can see your family members again, and when you're hurting and your life is upside down, there's my, you can put that back up. Awake at last. That's an unforgettable symbol there. If not all you might recognize it, but that's the Awake, that's their public face magazine. So she gets taken in by this. It sounds real good, you know. They have good things to offer, you know, to lure you in. Sounds good. So I'm in her womb, and I have two older siblings, a brother and a sister. So she tells our father, hey, I want to be a witness. My father doesn't want anything to do with it, nothing to do with it. Well, back then, the way the climate was in the early, we're talking 1969, Summer of Love, early 70s, is that the witnesses, if you wanted to bring your kids up in the truth, as J.W. Struggle calls it, the truth, they would help you in court cases with information. They would also help get you out of there and move you around. So that's what happened. My mom took off with the help of the witnesses, and we moved somewhere new that we knew nothing about, we didn't know where we were going. I'm in her womb, she takes off. So my father is a Vietnam vet, and he comes, he's got to deal with that, and with the trials and tribulations that comes with that. My mom's father was in the Battle of the Bulge. He was an Army man as well, and he hired my father to work in one of his businesses. So my mom has two siblings. They all got, when my grandfather died, the business got liquidated. All the siblings got a part of that money, enough to go to college, not have to work, go all the way through doctorate degrees, whatever they wanted to do. They all got enough money, including my mom. Well, my mom quits college after 2 years for the ministry, for the JW work. And our story is typical as far as going to the meetings, out in field service, conventions, district conventions. Where it gets weird is every time my mom thinks my father is getting close to locating her, we move. So if I came home from school and I opened the door and there were suitcases staring me in the face, I knew what was going to happen. We were on a Greyhound and we were gone just with our suitcases. We didn't know where we were going, where we were headed. But if we got somewhere and it was 5 o'clock in the evening and there was a meeting at 7:05, 7 o'clock, we were at that Kingdom Hall in the new town that we got to. Very transient growing up, but we never missed a meeting. We never missed a convention. We never missed an assembly. The nature of the way this organization works is it requires more and more and more of your life. And you give more and more and more and more. So you have a lot of zealots. 1975, 7 years old, and I remember life being kind of normal as it could be, without Christmas and being ostracized and no holidays and everything else and being poor, because my mother had given all her inheritance to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society when she left college. So 1975, I remember I started biting my nails because I was real nervous. Something was going to happen, And I ended up not stopping biting my nails till I was around 13 years old. I used to bite them till they bled. So many years after 1975, I would bite them. They would all be bleeding. That's how my natural, past the bed of the cortical of the nail. Anyway, my mother gets rid of her car, her job. Any normalcy of life we had stopped. We weren't taken out to the parks. There was no more family gatherings with neighbors. Nothing. It all stopped. No more going to the library, going to Friendly's, getting a cheeseburger with that toasted bun and an iced Coke. All that stopped. Of course, 1975 came and went. Now I know from research that brought a lot of stress on people. That's when the beatings started. That's when my siblings and I would start getting beatings and getting beatings of under the bed with a broom, trying to poke us and put us out in the snow in our underwear in the cold. In addition to the regular beatings we all got in the Kingdom Hall, 2 hours, you're a little kid and you can't move, or you have to have your Bible, your New World Translation of the Unholy Scriptures open in front of you. You couldn't fall asleep. You had to pretend you were reading, and if you fell asleep, we used to get dragged out down the hall, and you'd be dragged out. And I remember looking over one time, and I saw my brother. My brother's older. He's a tough kid, always was a tough kid. And I remember seeing his face as he's getting dragged down the hall. And I remember, man, just feeling bad for him, you know. But the Kingdom Hall not only does it have no windows, but it has several sets of doors. So when you open the first set of doors, you're hit with another set of doors. You open those doors, and there's another set of doors, and then it's open to the regular hall. So it's like this, going into like this series of, why I'm mentioning this is, it's a good place to beat your kids in that the first set of doors. So you have some buffer there where they won't be able to hear you. These are typical stories for anybody that got brought up in the cult. I remember a story too. My brother cut his leg real bad in a stream. We were walking in a stream, and there was some aluminum underneath the water, and it sliced his leg, and it was a really, really bad cut. So what they did for kids back then is not only did they give you staples, but they would put a cast around your leg. Because you're a kid and you're going to do rough things, they wanted to really protect it. So after 1975, we don't have a car. Time's money. When you're working a menial job, it might take you years to get another car. So we still had to get to the meetings, so we'd walk. And the Kingdom Hall was pretty far. And I remember we're walking and walking and walking, and all of a sudden my brother keeps complaining and complaining. He's in a lot of pain. We look down, and he's bleeding through his cast. Bleeding right through his cast. And we're all saying, hey, this is wrong. Why is this happening? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? That's a story I'll never forget. Where my awakening started is I was 6 years old. I can tell you what aisle I was in, what chair I was in the Kingdom Hall. The brother was up like I am, giving a talk, and he mentioned how and I heard this 100, 200 times, and it just didn't register. But he said about how everybody in the world was going to die except for the JWs, except for us. We're all going to live, but everybody else is going to die. And I looked up in the corner of the room where the ceiling meets the wall, right in the corner, and I just stared there at that spot. And I thought, Jehovah, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't kill everybody. That's not fair. You wouldn't do that. I just kept telling myself that. That was the first crack. And that crack stayed there. It never healed over and got indoctrinated. That crack stayed there in my head, my skull, and things just grew from there over the years. And I think that's what happens to other people too. There'll be a fissure and a crack started, and then the circumstantial evidence piles up until you get the picture of reality. I use this for a couple reasons in my activism. I have friends that want to come and share in the activism, but they have family in, and plus it's satire, and you need a little humor in a subject like this. There was some things that we laughed about. Now we look back and you got to laugh about them. However, coming to Jesus. So, what happened with me is when I was 12, I decided this life that I had at home life was crazy, chaotic. My father couldn't find us. I'm contacted by my uncles, his brothers. Witnesses are very isolated. My mom's not cooperating with the family. Some of the other family, because she's a Jehovah's Witness, they don't want anything to do with her. She was brought up as a Protestant, and they just couldn't stand this cult. So I'm ostracized by different sides of the family. Anyway, my mom is a very beautiful woman. To this day, she's a gorgeous woman. Black hair. I'm from a Hispanic background. She's gorgeous. But in the Kingdom Hall, you can only marry someone in the Kingdom Hall. A Jehovah's Witness. You cannot marry outside. And since there's mostly women in the congregations, numbers are higher, your pool is small. So although my mother had a lot of suitors, and I did like a lot of the fellas and their kids, she didn't find anybody she was too interested in it. So anyway, I knew my home life was crazy. I was sick of being poor and knowing that us kids knew who was the boss. We were second fiddle. The organization and the JWs came first, period. And we knew we were second at fiddle, no doubt. So I called up children and youth and said, I need help. You got to get me out of this situation. So they came in, looked over the situation, and because my parent was giving all their money to the contribution box, my brother had to put the stuff in the contribution box, these checks. And he said they were always $40, $50. And then you go to the Kingdom Hall 3 times a week, and you put that kind of money even in the 70s, and all those, that's a lot of money for poor people. And don't look for any charity from, Jehovah's Witnesses do not do charity. It's not a religion. They do not help the community in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, so I end up brought to foster care. I got brought to a farm, and I learned how to do all kinds of farm stuff, how to milk cows, how to run a farm, bale hay. It was great. Fillet fish, do all kinds of stuff. Butch and Ginny Bills in Narvon, PA. God rest their souls. They are deceased now. But my care packages consisted of, yes, you guessed it, the Watchtower and Awake. No socks, no clothes, no love you note from home. It was the Watchtower and Awake. This is what I need, my spiritual food from the governing body, the faithful and discreet slave class. So I dutifully hid the Watchtower and Awake out in the woods under a bucket. Well, their son, they have a son and a daughter, and Butch and Ginny Bills did, and their son was an avid hunter, and he could walk behind you and you'd never hear him. I don't care if there was leaves around, you wouldn't even know he was behind you. He was behind me. He saw that I was hiding things, so he brought this stuff to his mom, and once Ginny saw this stuff, she said, uh-oh, we're going to church. And then we burned our trash. That's how remote it is out there, the Welsh Mountains. So the only church around was a speaking in tongues, Holy Roller, Jesus Church, and I loved it. It was the first time I heard someone speaking in tongues. When I walked through the door, I can still tell you that sentence. I don't know what it means, but they said, Halala Shibala Sandalai. Don't know what it means. I'm hoping it's something great to the Lord Jesus. I hope it's, So I'll never forget it. And they had a Sunday school, and I went. I loved it. It was awesome. It was everything I never had. I felt love. There was real love there. There's no love in the Kingdom Hall, unconditional or otherwise. It's not love. I had to learn how to love, and it took me a long time when I got out to learn how to love. I could leave you in a heartbeat without even batting an eye, and I wouldn't feel a thing. Anyway, so they asked me, I'm 12 years old, they asked me, hey, Dan, do you want to get baptized? You don't have to, but they were on one Sunday, they were getting baptized after Sunday school. And I did. I said, sure. So I got baptized, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it was a real baptism. And I'm baptized. I could not tell my family that, though, going home. Couldn't tell them. But I saw the distinction between God and the organization, and some people never break those two apart. The kernel is the same. For me, the spirituality, to me, the deity and the org were two separate things. The org is not any kind of deity whatsoever. Luckily, that crack caused that. So when I got baptized, to me, that was to Jehovah, that was to Jesus, that was to the Holy Spirit. To me, it was legit. And to this day, I feel it's legit. I know it's legit. I was only there 9 months. I get sent back. They don't want you to stay. I did get offered to stay, but I dutifully missed my family and went home. 16 years old, I'm in high school, and I want to play football. We're not allowed to do any kind of sports. I was isolated. There was a kid next door to me whose parents were Amish, and they got excommunicated from their sect. His mom, Barb Schaub, she's passed away. God rest her soul. She was my second mom. She got kicked out because she married out of the Amish community. Her son and I joined football in high school, 9th grade. Well, I got burnt. I got busted. They found out I was going. I go home. I go in my house, our apartment, and nobody's home. There is no furniture, no cats, no dogs, no siblings. Doors are locked. Everything is gone. I wasn't behaving. You drop kid like a hot potato. That's not love. So I went to see Barb. She knew what was going on because she was an ex-Amish, and she took me in, said, you're staying with us. And the high school that I went to took the vice principal, guidance counselor, my football coach took my folks to court. And find me a place to live with a bed and a roof over my head, or prison. Those are your choices. And there was a very nasty verbal spanking that the judge gave to my mother, who did not look at me and walked straight into the courtroom with no witnesses to help her. That derailed my baptism in the JWs. But like I said, to me, I was already baptized. And it was legit. I'm glad I didn't get baptized in the untruth. Cantus Conti did not get baptized in JW. I found that out recently. So it's a good thing if you don't. Nowadays, they'll shun you anyway. Doesn't even matter. So when I was 38, I was at a Bible study, and I found out we were watching a video. The pastor, Dave Mueller, that was there conducting the Bible study, had us watching these videos. And on the videos, the pastor said that Jesus is God. And I said, what do you mean Jesus is God? And everybody just turned around and looked at me. And I was like, yeah, Jesus is God. What are you talking about? So Pastor Mueller said, I'll talk to you after the Bible study. But he never did talk to me after the Bible study. So it wasn't till recently, about 2 years ago, I started watching Scientology, the ex-Scientology community. And I watched it for a year, knowing that there was so many similarities, and it dawned on me, I got to face the Watchtower now. I got to jump into the JW community, and I know it's going to hurt, but I got to do it. Being in the ex-Scientology community, following them, gave me the strength to face my own cult that I grew up in. In listening to the Christians on the ex-JW community, the ex-witnesses that become Christians, that tell the real gospel, who Jesus really is, not Michael the Archangel, and the Christians who were never JWs that come on there to tell what the gospel is, the true gospel. That's how I found out the rest of the gospel and the rest of the missing pieces that I didn't have other than Jesus is God, not Michael the Archangel at 38. So basically this year I found out the whole true gospel from the ex-JW community, from y'all. A lot of people here might have activism channels or go on there and type comments in. That's how I found out. I'd like to read something here. This is by a quote by Charles Spurgeon. It says, "He who counts the stars and calls them by their names is in no danger of forgetting his own children. He knows your case as thoroughly as if you were the only creature he ever made or the only saint he ever loved. Of all I would wish to say, this is the sum, my brethren. Preach Christ always and evermore. He is the whole gospel. His person, offices, and work must be our one great, all-comprehending theme. In Christ's love, you have begun a banquet that will never end. The richest, the most celestial, the most transporting joy that mortal mind can know is a full assurance of the love of God." I couldn't say it better than that. Up on our screen, I wanted to highlight some things on the screen here. I'm putting together tactics that the Watchtower uses to indoctrinate their members. All destructive cults use these tactics. And I just highlighted some up here. If you give me your information, your email, or through Bob, Gray, or Anderson, I will send you all these. Abilene Paradox, Melu Control, a lot of these I never even knew existed. People have to understand when we hear things like, I'd never be taken into a cult, I'm too smart for that. You must be stupid to be taken in by a cult. Researched over and over has already proved getting indoctrinated and sucked into a cult has nothing to do with IQ. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be a millionaire. It does not matter. So, I believe that some of the governing body is psychopathic, which they're born like that. They have no conscience. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them. I believe that they know they're using some of these tactics. Do I think they know they're using all 70, 75 tactics? No. But they certainly know they're using a bunch of them. And how I know that is, these are all standalone tactics used by North Korea, totalitarian societies, destructive cults, and they all come with a cure, a treatment plan. If you look at the treatment plan, you realize the Watchtower is not only using this on you, they're thwarting the treatment. They're stopping the treatment at the same time. So it's not just enough to use the tactic on you, they're also cutting that treatment off. That's intentional. It can only be done intentionally. And when you read the treatments and when you read the different meanings of these tactics, it'll become quite clear. This is what we were up against as indoctrinated in the cults. I didn't know I was, what chance did I have? There are 70 things on here that I show. What chance did I have against 70 different tactics that have been around since the late 1800s, and some up to 2005. What chance did I have being against all these things, of just coming out and waking up to my senses somehow? I didn't know we were against all this, and I don't think a lot of people know we're against all this. We hear the BITE model. We hear, behavior, information control, thought control, and emotions. Yeah, there's a lot more than that. And there's multiple layers of each of those things as well. All stand alone. So I'll give you copies of that. How am I on time here? Pretty good, I think. And these are multiple used on you. If you go down to another page here, spiral of silence, and you'll notice if you read some of these, you'll have examples of them in your head of things that we went through. The spiral of silence. Let's look at that. German scientist Elizabeth Noel, trying to see her. I can read on this one. Newman. Individuals have a fear of isolation results from idea that a social group or the society might, trying to see here, that's a big screen, I'm just looking, the fear keeps members silent instead of voicing opinions. So it's conditional love. Real world is not what they are thought. So in this one, they're being taught the real world is something that they're not being taught that it really is. They're worried about being isolated, so they're going to keep quiet. And evaluation of public opinion matters. Minority viewpoint is restricted. A person's individual reluctance to express his or her opinion simply, what's that word after simply? Based on perceptions of what everyone else thinks. We see this in the Kingdom Hall. And this is different than groupthink. This is a spiral of silence, which means there are certain things that create the spiral, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and eventually, our opinion is just too small to even matter in the grand scheme of things. And believe it or not, when you look at this particular one or all of them, this psychiatrist, psychologist, sociologist, this stuff has been studied for 20 years. That spiral of silence has been studied for 20 years, peer-reviewed, all kinds of paper after paperwork, all these are. They've been around, they've known about all these. And this was one of the things we were up against. We didn't even know. Layer upon, I like to think of it like this. The watchtower lays lies upon lies upon lies upon lies, so that when you're trying to witness to someone who's in, you've got to go through all this stuff just to get to a semblance of something that's true. Meanwhile, they're doing all these mental gymnastics. It's a real difficult situation. And if you do it wrong, they're going to embed themselves even tighter in the shell, and there's names for that as well. Here's some of the other ones. Some you may be familiar with: thought reform, psychology of totalism, fallacy, faulty generalizations, relevance fallacy, slippery slope, false analogy, Galileo gambit, cognitive distortion, persuasive definition, self-contradictory requirements, supremacism, social constructivism, communal reinforcement, sheeple. I always heard sheeple on the when I was on the websites and the YouTube in the comments, sheeple, and I thought, oh, that's funny. They're calling someone a sheeple because sheep like follow around. Sheeple's an actual, real psychological term that's been studied for years and years. Who knew? Collective behavior, collective consciousness, collective effervescence, folie à deux, groupthink, conformity, self-constructivism, terminological inexactitude, truthiness. Truthiness is actual thing too. This one, 2 + 2 = 5. That's a real one. That's what we were taught. 2 + 2 = 5. Oh, okay, governing body. 2 + 2 = 5. Okay, till the new light comes and it equals 6. Yeah. Oh, it did equal 6. We'll overlap the 2, carry that over. Yeah. Gaslighting. This is popular now. Gaslighting. Doublethink. False dilemma. Big lie. The big lie. False equivalence. Distinction without a difference. Spin. This is one we've heard. Spin propaganda. I hear spin on those like Fox News and stuff, but that's an actual term. Obscurantism. That's a religious opposer to that was Johannes. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Richlin in 1455 to 1522. He was someone who was totally against this because it's used for spiritual abuse. These things go way back, man. People have been fighting these things hundreds of years, some of them. Thought-terminating cliche, glittering generality, tergiversate. It's someone who turns one's back and makes excuses. We can apply that to the witnesses, how we were taught. Look at the cart work. You say something, they're going to turn their back on you, or make excuses. The new light is one of those. Weasel word. We've heard of that. I've heard of that. Doublespeak. Management. That one originated in the U.S. military. They originated that term. And it's just a way of controlling members in the group. Psychological manipulation, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse, lie. Yeah, we know a lie is a lie, but there's the Wizards Project by University of California is a very famous study. For 20 years, they studied how to detect lies. The FBI's done something similar, and can even tell when a psychopath lies, because they're subconscious cues. They can't hide it. They know what they are. You can see some TED Talks on that. They'll tell you about some of them. This one is interesting. Bullshit. That's a real bullshit. That's a term. Truth. That's a term that can be abused and used. Are you in the truth? How many times have we heard that? Are you in the truth? Machiavellianism. Care self-evaluations. Brainwashing. That's an old term, brainwashing. Everybody's heard that. Covert hypnosis. L. Ron Hubbard used a lot of that. Culture of fear. Ooh, Armageddon's right around the corner. Religious paranoia, religious intolerance, demonization. Oh, watch what you buy at that yard sale, because there could be a demon in there. Black propaganda, there's white propaganda. Whispering campaign. Psycholinguistics. Totalism. Circularity. Talking in a circle. Argot. Speech community. Social linguistics is a part of your social network. Language ideology. Paternalistic deception. The noble lie. This was depicted by the bust of Socrates, Plato's Republic. Noble lie. The lie we mean well. Ableism. Scientology, we make the able more able. Exceptionalism, what's that one? Triumphalism, argumentation theory, Galileo gambit, association fallacy, argument map, Anti-pattern, cargo cult programming. Quite a few of them, huh? I couldn't go into all the definitions like I did the other one, like the beginning 6, but I'm going to do a series on my Ex-JW Born In YouTube channel, and I'm going to highlight every single one of them and give the histories on them and what they mean. A lot of these are in mandated reporter. If you're a mandated reporter in the education system, law enforcement, they are in there. They're called something else, but when you look at the definitions, they match up perfectly. So other fields know about some of these as well. They're just called different names, same meanings. That's very interesting too. I don't know if anybody had any questions for me. At some time here. I just met Joan Sentinar today in person, and that was really, really special. That was really cool. Last night I met her. She'll be here tomorrow. And that's how I found this place. I watched a video of Bill and Joan Sentinar, and I reached out, and that's how I came to be here with everybody. And to finally meet her in person was really special. It was very cool. And meet other people here too that I watched their testimonies on there. So yeah, just God bless everybody. Remember, in the JWs we could not say God bless, so I say it every day now. I say it over and over again. I'll say it again. God bless all of you.
Amen.
Yeah. Am I on good time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who knew there were so many psychological traits associated with the Watchtower? Wow. I mean, I've been coming here for how many years, and we knew there were a lot of them, but wow. So God bless you with your efforts on that.
Yeah, I wondered how they got someone like you to stay in there like that 25 years. Well, that's how they do it. You know?
Any questions for him before he... Yes, Dave. Have you been able to share with others like yourself these things?
Not yet. This is the first. That you're seeing this list the first. It all started, I studied the ban from Russia, and on their extreme, there's 52 pages of the European Rights Watch. They have 7 categories on the ban to be an extreme group. They broke all 7. So Russia only needs 7 of these to get you as an extreme group, using 7 of these. That's it. So I thought, oh, there's got to be more. There's more than 7. And that's what started me down this path. And then Robert Lifton helped me. He's got more, but this is the most extensive list I've ever found. Yeah. It took a long time to get it all together. A lot of paperwork falling on the floor, and my wife, right in the hotel room now, she's got pages on. I got to clean up.
What are you going to do with this now? You're going to put it together in some kind of a...
Yeah. Right.
Watchtower doesn't do charity. I'm just repeating it for the...
Yes. This is not a mandate that we're told. Interesting. Well, when they help you in a hurricane, it's free labor. The brothers go down there. It's free labor. And then when you get that check from the insurance, you have to have already agreed to sign a portion, if not all of that over, prior. The brother will give you paperwork that you've already signed, and you have to cough that up. Yes. Also, we are not mandated like Scientology. You ever want to know how to spot a destructive cult? Very easy. They do no charity. Money only goes up one way. That's it. Their clergy might get what is it, $125 the Bethelites get a month. That pays for anything they need, toiletries, everything, gas, whatever. That's it. Scientology, $50 by the time, if you're lucky, a week. So there's no retirement, no Social Security, no nothing. You get kicked out, you can't work anymore. Sayonara, see you later, arrivederci. Don't let the door hit you on the way. This is why we got to stop these guys. They're living like kings. This is part of my mission.
We've heard the stories told 1975 when people sold their homes and businesses and so forth. And did the Watchtower help any of these people?
No, in fact, today you can call the Watchtower up and they will tell you how to send your grandma's jewelry and how to send it to where they get it. They've got paperwork if you want to give your house away. Say, this is my pop, this is my dad. He worked 40 years, and you know what? I'm his only child. And he loves me. He's going to give me everything, the house, hopefully the mansion, the car, his penny collect, his quarter collect, whatever. But no, he decides to give it to the Watchtower. And guess what? They'll take it all, and they'll leave me nothing. They'll take it all. And without batting an eye. And no, they do no charity. Their charity is giving, which is all paid for. Watchtower and Awake and all those publications, that's all paid for. That we give that to people, and that's our charity, because you need that to might have a chance in Armageddon, to get into Armageddon. There's no guarantees. By the way, it dawned on me. I worked my butt off. I managed to dodge the incoming gas balls from Jehovah, and I managed to make it through Armageddon. Now, I'm in Armageddon. I dodged because there's no guarantees. I made it, right? I pet the tigers and lions for about 2 minutes. I say hi to my long-lost great-great-great-granddad that I never knew I had. 2 minutes. Then a circuit overseer comes out of nowhere, directed from the governing body who's in heaven ruling with Jesus. And he tells me, oh, you got to start cleaning up those 6.999 billion bodies that got killed because the birds are eating them and they're all charred. You got to bury those. So now there's only a few of JWs here that made it through Armageddon. So I spend the next 300 years burying 6.999 billion people. Woo, now that's over. What do I got? I got 600 years left of the 1,000-year reign. Now I'm told that the wicked ones that were resurrected and the people that didn't hear about the good news of the kingdom, they all have homes now. I picked a mansion out when I was out in field service, and I can't even spend time in it because now I got to go door to door, tell them about the good news, about Jehovah and all that. So that takes me 600 years. Now the 1,000 years is over, and now Jehovah's letting Satan out of the abyss to test me again. I'm so sick of this, I'm not going to make it. Kill me now. Just do it. We should have picked heaven in the first place, is what I'm saying. And man shouldn't be Mormon. You'll be God someday. You and I will be God someday. This is how we got into trouble in the first place. I don't want to be God. I don't want to know why my wife loves the rose so much. All I know is it's beautiful. I give her one. It's great. I don't want to know the one problem that'll solve the calculation of the universe. I don't want to know that. This is why we keep getting into trouble, and this is how it all started, and it's still going on.
Amen.
Yeah?
Amen. Okay.
All right. Thank you. God bless.